Alright, so I figured I'd go over the wiring and everything on how we're doing the E38. Thinning the harness out, getting rid of the unnecessary stuff that we don't need, and how to make it operate, hopefully. So what I did is I took the harness before I deloomed it. I brought it over, plugged in each injector, where it went, the coil packs, the map sensor, the oil, temperature. Just went around and plugged in all of my sensors. And of course, since it's a truck harness, the intake's a lot higher, the map sensor was in a different location, and that sort of thing. So once I got everything plugged in, then I deloomed everything and started laying it out how I wanted to. Now over here on this side, for some reason, this harness was very long for the drive-by-wire, so I cut quite a bit out of this to shorten this up so it would plug in properly and look right. And then I just kind of pulled the wires taut, and then routed them, and then as I went through, zip tied them to hold them in place. So then we'll tape it and loom it, and then the ground wires were extremely long right there. And then again, pulled out our DOD control, our rear O2 on this side over here, and then brought everything down. Now there was one connector over here that had been cut off, one or two, I can't remember, but anyway, so these are all of our power wires. So these go to, each one goes to an injector, and one, this red and black one here, goes to the transmission, or this red and white one of these goes to the transmission. So these get keyed power, and again, you want to make sure that the power for these is hot in the run and start, because you don't have very many wires in the vehicle that are hot in those both positions. And early on when I was little, I learned that pretty quick, because when I did a swap, you'd go to crank it, and then you'd turn it over, and then it wouldn't do anything, and then when you let off, it sounded like it would pop, like it was wanted to run. And I discovered that the issue was that it was not staying hot in the start position. So it's very important that you do that, because otherwise it won't start and run. So then I came down and plugged in the cam position sensor, again routed the wires around to the knock sensor, the crank sensor, and the starter, and then kind of laid them out how I wanted them, and then came over to here and kind of left my slack over here so you can see all these wires, how long they are now that we've pulled them taut up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten these up to get them the length I want to go to the ECU. And then this is the mass airflow sensor, which once you pull it out and put it over here in the truck configuration, it's on this side over here. So pulling it back through and putting it here, you really lose a lot of wire length you have to take out to get it to go on this side of the vehicle. So these wires were able to come out because they go to the DOD cover to make DOD function. And that's one thing with delooming the harness like this, is you can pull out, just grab the wire connector from wherever it is and just pull it all the way through the harness, and then tie it off and lay it over to the side, and then you know that you don't need those wires. So once I did that and got rid of everything out of the harness that I knew I wasn't going to need, again, like the rear O2s came out, so this is goes down to the headers for the front bank 2 O2, and then here's our transmission harness, and then our front O2 for bank 1, and then our oil, and then again the injectors and the coil packs, temp sensor, and then the alternator is low mount F-body style on this setup. So I wanted to put it on there and make sure, you know, it plugged in and we had room and everything. So the big purple wire is the starter, obviously, and the black one is a ground. It actually goes to the block right here. So I left it in there because I may use it as a ground still for relays and such. Then we get over to here. Again, I went through, so none of these wires are going to be used. These were able to be pulled through by the connector. And then I really don't like these style of connectors. I really don't want to take it apart and pull them out because when you go to hook it back in, it's very difficult to get the pin to stay clicked in the connector on these. I do not like these connectors. That was what was wrong with the Envoy when I did the fans. That's what it was, is the pin had pushed out some. It's just, they're very difficult to keep the pins clicked into the connector on these. So I don't know, I mean, I'd like to remove them out of the harness completely, but again, I just don't like dealing with how the pins fit in there. Like the P59s and stuff like that, I mean, they were easy to take in and out. You pulled the cover off and then pulled the tab back, and then they pulled out, and then you just put the cover back on the connector. But anyway, those are a little more tricky. So what we did next is we took this is from lt1swap.com, which has a lot of very useful information for LS wiring harnesses, and I've used these on every one I've done. And what you do is you just go through and he has it color coordinated. So the blue ones are the ones you need to keep, and it tells you what it is. So this one's a blue and white wire at pin 9 and the J1 connector, and then he has the picture of the connector and how the numbering is, because you can't always see or know which way the numbering goes in the connector. So they have that, he has that in there for you. So then I just went through with my multimeter and verified that my connections, I picked the right wires, because some of them there's like a solid green wire that there's more than one in that connector, so you got to make sure you have the right dark green one. So I'll find this pin number, stick a paper clip in it, and then find the other end of the green wire and ohm it out and see if my meter beeps. So then I know what it is. And then the yellow ones are the ones you can remove. A lot of these are like the secondary O2s and AC stuff and fuel level sensor. Just all the yellow ones you can remove. So then you just go through, label your blue ones. A lot of these are for this one there is for the drive-by-wire pedal. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wires that go to the drive-by-wire pedal, your check engine light, stuff like that, your cooling fans. So that's your output that sends a ground signal, and then it turns the relay on to run the fan. And then the brake switch we started off talking about. So this one is to unlock your torque converter. What it does is it wants to see 12 volts until you press the brake pedal, which is difficult because on most cars it's not that way. You have 12 volts running to one side of the switch, and then when you press the switch it sends 12 volts to the brake lights. So what you have to do is you have to take a 5-pin relay and then wire it to the middle pin of the 5-pin relay, so it's getting 12 volts, and then when you press the brake it switches to no power. So that's how I do it when I wire that one up. But the rest of the stuff is key 12 volt power, constant power, stuff like that. So I mean it's pretty straightforward, other than it's kind of tedious. And then if you want to shorten them up to make them look good and everything, I mean you see how it's just, they're all different lengths, again, because once you get this how you want it, then you're gonna have this. And so I'll go through and then label what everything is, so then I can send it to where it needs to go. For the gas pedal, they'll be wired together into a harness that goes to the gas pedal. And like I say, just the typically your green and white one there is your fuel pump output, and I believe it outputs a 12 volt signal. I'm pretty sure. So, but anyway, you want to use a relay again on that, because if you run that straight to the fuel pump, it's not going to be able to carry the load needed to run it, because it's just the ECU giving a 12 volt signal, which in the truck it went to a relay, and the relay carried the load of the fuel pump running. So again, these are the wires that are completely removed and not used in the harness. These wires go to the transmission, and from what I have read and researched, and just quick research, you can run the 6L80 and use the tap shift without the BCM if you use an 08 Corvette OS or something like that. So since I do have now I have the truck shifter in here, I would like to be able to utilize the tap shift on there in the tow haul mode, so I can have one mode to drive around on the street, and then be able to have a different trans settings when I turn on the tow haul. So I don't know if all that's going to work out, but again, from what I've read, it's possible without the BCM, and changing some parameters in HP tuners, again with the 08 Corvette OS for the transmission side of it, and then you change the whatever drop down parameter is for how the transmission is controlled to hardwired. So I hope it works. I mean, I haven't done an E38 before, and I haven't done one with a 6L80, but I mean, I feel confident we can make it work. If not, I mean, I do have the BCM and all the wiring harness out of the truck, so I could potentially try to go through the trouble to use the BCM and somehow figure out how to wire it in and set it up how it was in the truck. I really don't want to do that, but if I can get it put together where the transmission shifts and it runs the engine and all that good stuff, then we should be good to go. Another thing that I was reading was something with the OBD2 on this. You have to have like a 120 ohm resistor between two wires that go into the OBD2 connector, so I don't really know about that yet. They also talked about flashing them with a bench harness or something. So you just want to take it one step at a time, one wire at a time, because if you just look at it like this, I mean, once the wire loom's off, it's very overwhelming. So you want to take it one wire at a time, and again, just plug everything in where it's going to go, and then focus on one wire at a time, because otherwise you'll get confused and you'll get overwhelmed, and it just won't make sense to you. But if you take it one wire at a time and then follow it back through, and then I mean it's a lot of wires. It really is. You'll get through it. But these right here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take and wire it up. So I want to have this bank injectors, this bank coil pack, and maybe one other, whatever. If there's another pink wire in here, put that on one circuit and go to one fuse. So these pink wires will probably go to one circuit to one fuse, and then the wires from these injectors and these coil packs will go to one fuse in the car. And then this other one down there, that's for your mass airflow power. So that comes into your mass airflow harness. So I'll stick that on, with which one, try to balance the load. If this one has 5 in it and this one has 6, then we'll put it over here with this one. So that kind of thing. But yeah, that part's pretty easy. And then this is the car side of the harness. So just from knowing Fords and stuff, you can look at it and kind of make a determination of, this plugs into the car harness, and then like this goes to your coil. So you know that whichever wire, which one forward, probably the green one, is probably going to be your power side for your ignition coil. Well, if it was the ignition coil in the car, that it's going to have power in the run and start position. So you'll want to use this wire to go to your pink wires in the GM harness. These wires are probably sensors, and then you'll probably have like a voltage regulator and stuff like that. But I have a book up here that one of my buddies gave me a while back. So it has the wiring schematics and stuff in here, so you can see what you have. Now, again, this is a Ford, and I believe this is for a 1981. So depending on what day of the week, what color the vehicle was, and what technician was working on it, these wire colors probably won't match anything in the book. That's just how Ford is. If you worked on them, you kind of learned that over the years, that the diagrams didn't always match the car. So you just gotta look at it, figure it out. That's why I like to remove everything when I'm doing one of these, because then I can keep the harnesses and see what everything came off of and label it, and then I can know what it is and don't really need a manual. So that's kind of how I did this harness. Is I just kind of went through, and I know pretty much all the connectors on GM, and I can tell what I'm going to use and what I'm not, and then I can just pull that whole thing out, and I don't even have to look at a wiring diagram. I just know I don't need that. It went to something that's not going to run the engine, and then just pull it out of the harness. That saves you a lot of time and effort. So anyway, I'm going to shorten these wires up, and then try to get the harness tidied up today, get these things removed, and then I think once we have the engine harness ready to go, we'll probably be ready to pull out our mock-up engine. Of course, again, before I remove the mock-up engine, I need to kind of put some more welds on the exhaust to get that, just to have it hold its shape, so I can remove it from the car and then do all my finish welding on it. I talked to my drive shaft guy last night. He's been covered up, which I kind of figured because I haven't heard from him. But The drive shaft I gave him was a metal Ford drive shaft, and the yoke for the 6L80s is a AAM. So he doesn't like to use a bastard joint. He wants to have the same cross on each side, a square U joint. He doesn't like a bastard joint. A bastard joint does not bother me at all. You know, when I was a teenager and stuff, that's all we needed to do to get something, from this side to fit that side to put in the car and make it work. So we'd go to the parts store, and the guy knew us, and he'd just let us go back there with the 2 U joints and measure everything, and then pick one that was what we needed. But this guy's a drive shaft guy. He builds drive shafts. He doesn't want to deal with that. So I was telling him I had the aluminum drive shaft that came out of the truck, and then I had an aluminum drive shaft that had the same flange pattern that's on this car, and they looked like they were the same diameter. So I measured that. They were the same diameter, so he can take the 6L80 end off of the drive shaft that came out of the truck, and then he can get the drive shaft to the right length and then weld it on to the Spicer Ford shaft that I have. He doesn't like doing aluminum drive shafts, especially in a hot rod per se. But I try to be honest with him, because I don't want him. I want it to work properly. So I told him, it's about a 3,000 pound car. It's going to be on street tires, and maybe 500 at the tires. So it doesn't have to be super strong, because you got a light car and you're not going to have traction. Now if later on this car ends up with a supercharger or a turbo, and then we put radials on it, we might have a problem. But that's why I try to be honest with him about it. But sometimes I'm not honest with myself about these kind of things and get carried away. So anyway, that's where we're at for now. It's the update. I'm really happy with how well everything's laying out. I like how it looks, and I'd like to get some of that, like the loom that Holly uses to go over these and everything, because this stuff right here, the loom that comes on these harnesses, they just for some reason, the 7 to 13, this loom just deteriorates very badly, and gets very brittle and just falls apart. It makes a mess on the engine, and then it doesn't look good, and it doesn't protect the wires. So this is off of this harness, but it looks pretty good shape. But I may use it somewhere or something, but I prefer like the style that Holly uses. I just think aesthetically it looks better. But I do have my CTSV engine cover I could put on there, and I think it may look kind of cool. I don't know. I may paint the engine block. Don't hold your breath. But anyway, that's coming along pretty good. I looked at some of these harnesses, and it's amazing to me that they would charge like $700 for this. That just seems like a lot of money to me for a harness. At that point, if you're going to spend that kind of money on a harness, you're already close to a Terminator Max. I know you're not there, but $700 for a harness to me is a lot of money, and especially with the information's available for you to go through it and give the ECU what it needs to run it. And I just think that this is the way to go. And the Holly harnesses don't fit well either. That's why I like to have the engine there, hook everything up, and then lay it out how it's going to go. Now this is probably going to be a little long for in the car, because if you look at it, we're going from the cylinder head here to, I want to mount the ECU somewhere in here, so we've got a little more wire length than that. But at the same time, I don't want to go through this and shorten every single wire. But we're halfway there with all these wires that need to be put in a length. So anyway, I'll see how it goes once I get into it and start soldering, and we'll go from there.